There was a Navy man who dreamed of writing stories for movies. And he actually wrote a full screenplay, for the Navy hero John Paul Jones. He sent it to Paramount Pictures and got immediately rejected. Wasn't even considered. He said he lived with that fear of rejection for many, many years. And you know this man because he said this: the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Who said that? Right, FDR. But he said getting over that fear was a real hurdle in his life. And that's why I'm sure he said that. We only have to fear is fear itself. I looked at some of the most penetrating and fears that paralyze most of us, my friends. You know, we all have fears of flying, or there's actually fear of going over bridges. Not different these small fears, but those are small. These, fear of rejection, fear of being hurt, fear of being alone, fear of intimacy, fear of being taken advantage of, fear of change, fear of being criticized, those, my friends, can really penetrate our lives. What do we do with them? What do we do when we have these deep-seated fears? In Sarajevo, there was that bloody ethnic cleansing that left thousands and thousands of children homeless. And the hospitals and all sorts of homes were filled with these children that were actually, their parents were killed in this awful battle. And they couldn't get these children, because of what the children saw, they couldn't get these children to sleep. And so finally they would give each child a little piece of bread. And every one of those children would sleep clutching, and their fingers sometimes would be indented into the bread, clutching on that. How sad. But it gave them a sense of security. At least they would know they would be able to eat the next day. But you know, my friends, that's what fear does. Like today, we cling to the wrong things, don't we? That's why those addictions are so, drugs today, both prescription and street, drinking, gambling, all the sexual pornography stuff. Most of it's all related to fears. And then how we cling to something that's actually unhealthy and would create deeper, deeper fears. Which religion deal with that? It doesn't get rid of the fear. For the most part, it doesn't get rid of it. What's it do? It gives us some power to be able to work through it, right? It gives us a strength and a power that we don't have. And that's what religion does. That's what faith does. That's what prayer does, right? It gives us a power we don't have. Interesting how a little couple that lived in Elmira, New York, can have such an impact. Their names were the Doolittles, Mr. and Mrs. Doolittle. And another couple went to see them, the Martins. And they were friends with them, but the Doolittles, she was almost bedridden for 20 years, and he was confined to a wheelchair. And despite their afflictions, they were very content, this family. And the Martins, after 2 years of visiting, were just amazed at how they could live and be so content with what they had. And they said to him, you know, how do you do it? Like, how do you keep a positive attitude? And both of them said the same thing at the exact same, it was like chorus. But they said, our eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Quoting this gospel right here. Talking about God can notice the sparrow, he can watch me. Well, they took that, the Martins took that and made a poem out of it. And then, of course, then it became a song. Ethel Waters made it a famous song, and you probably heard it from Whitney Houston. But, you know, everyone that has sang that song, it affected their life. It affected their life. Why should my heart be lonely? For long, for heaven and home. My Jesus is my portion. My constant friend is he. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Let not your heart be troubled. His tender word I hear. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me.